Hi, everybody. My name is Paul Toomey. I'm president of Geographic Solutions. At Geographic Solutions, we specialize in developing and maintaining online software solutions for the workforce development industry. Our software helps people get a job, including providing career advice, appropriate training, access to government benefits, including unemployment insurance. Regardless of the individuals that we're serving, our software is geared towards providing the necessary tools as a means for gainful employment, regardless of background or barriers. Over the next few months, join us for our Pathways to Employment webinar series. In each episode, we'll highlight how our clients are using our products in unique and inspiring ways, in ways to help job-ready individuals secure employment. Hey, we're glad you have joined us today and hope you'll walk away with new insights and perspectives. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
I would now like to introduce Michelle Duran, economist at the New Mexico Department of Workforce Solutions. Michelle, I hear that one place I have to visit in New Mexico is the Singing Highway.
Yes, the Singing Highway, America the Beautiful. It's a great road to travel.
Excellent. Okay, thank you, Michelle. Looking forward to the presentation.
All right, great. And so are you seeing my screen now, or do I need to click something?
Yes, we do see your screen.
Right. It is
okay,
the one with the note.
one? Ah. That one right?
There we go.
All right.
Very nice.
All right. Okay, so let me get ready here. All right. So yes, I am with the New Mexico Department of Workforce Solutions. I am with the Economic Research and Analysis Bureau. We're tasked by ETA to provide labor market information to job seekers, employers, data analysts, and decision makers. So LMI is data about the workforce, including information like what's the highest paying job and what occupations will be in demand in the next 10 years. So how we know Geographic Solutions is they are actually, for the last at least 20 years, have been the software that we use to publish that information. So they actually host two of our sites, Laser, our labor market information site. They're the ones who created it for us and work with us on that. Our labor market information site has occupational wages, projections, education and training requirements for occupations. They also created our New Mexico Workforce Connection. That's where job seekers go, employers go to find employees, job seekers to find jobs. And part of that is including our relevant labor market information for them to use to help with that. So both of those sites are integrated. And so you can go to one and still get information on the workforce, or else you can go to Laser and still see information about jobs from the other side. It's great that those two are integrated. So one site that we didn't have geo hosting was a target audience for high school students. We had a site that we created and developed, but it was technologically outdated, visually outdated, and required a lot of manual updates. And so we wanted to look for something that would help us with that target audience. And so we set forth goals of creating an online exploration solution that was accessible for students and counselors, either in class or if students are at home, that they could use. We want it to be self-guided and a step-by-step tool where they could just follow along without a lot of assistance. And of course, we wanted it to be online, so everything was at their fingertips. So just out of curiosity, I remember sitting in a 10th grade biology class doing career exploration. They would give us a worksheet and say, fill this out. They'd give us assessments that were all manual that you had to grade on your own. and they came up with some occupations where, hey, these might be the best for you. Do you remember any of those occupations? I certainly don't. I mean, that was 10th grade. It was 2 days out of my high school career. Well, that didn't work for us. We wanted something that was online, something that brought those educational tools and workforce tools to students that they could actually have and that would follow with them throughout their career, their academic career. And so we looked at a couple different options. One of them was leveraging our internal IT staff to create something, but our internal IT staff is actually, we do the unemployment insurance. I know in 2015 it wasn't that bad, but they do tax, unemployment insurance tax, they do unemployment insurance claims. So we didn't feel that that was the right solution. And the other option was to leverage the existing tools that we have with Laser and with the Workforce Connection. Something that high school, the only problem was we wanted something that high school students would want to use. We didn't promote Laser to high school students. It wasn't, while it was nice for data users, data analysts, it wasn't that great for high school students. But we still wanted to leverage those existing tools that Geographic Solutions already had in place. So we actually started working with Geographic Solutions. In 2015, it was about June, July, we started the contract process. And our initial thought was just create a portal somewhere where students could go and access those tools without having a lot of redevelopment. We didn't want a lot of redevelopment. We just wanted something that sat on top and gave people access to those existing tools. And so we actually started working with our LMI project manager from Geographic Solutions, Shannon. She's a great person. She knows what we were looking for, who our target audience is. She knows why we were trying to get labor market information to that target audience. And so working with her, we determined we were totally wrong with what we wanted. We didn't want a portal that sat on top of existing tools. We wanted something that was much more interactive, something that was much more targeted to high school students. So we determined we needed a phase 1 and a phase 2. And so in 2016, after the contract was signed and everything, after we went through with Shannon to determine what we wanted in a system, we started with an agile development where we would go through sprints, bi-monthly sprints. Every 2 weeks we'd have a call and we'd tell the developers, this is what we want. And so we'd start with the one section like career exploration and say, this is what we want here. And they'd take 2 weeks, develop it. They'd come back, show us what they have, and we'd make suggestions. They'd make suggestions that might make it better. And then we'd start on the next one and they do the same process over again. They take it, develop something, come back and show it to us. It was a great process that we were able to work with them on. So funny story about that. So we were sitting there and me and my coworker were talking about it, and you know, it'd be great if we could get something like a shopping cart of occupations. You know, like when you're doing Amazon shopping, I like that, and you add it to your cart. I like that, add it to your cart. And then at the end, you could compare it and see, yeah, is that what I really wanted? And have a side-by-side comparison of the things you chose. And Geographic Solutions, especially Shannon, that is a great idea, something that students already know. I mean, how many people shop? I mean, so many people are, especially now, we're doing online shopping all the time. But yes, online shopping of careers. And so they took that and they created something great. So in 2016, we actually, after 6 months of work, created our first iteration of Career Solutions. And this is the first iteration of Career Solutions. You'll notice up top we have career exploration, the job search, and education and training. Each one of those are tools that were already existing, except for the shopping cart. The shopping cart was new. But most of that was already existing, except we needed to find a better way of getting that to the students. And so we also have the occupation library, which while it already existed in Workforce Connection, they actually needed to make it specific to a student. And the Career Solutions Toolbox, the same thing, to see students' progress. And then this is part of phase 2. This is phase 1 aspect of Build Your Path. This is the guided part of Career Solutions. This is how you do it. You start here with Career Solutions. Then you go to this step, and this step. For phase 1, this was not very integrated. It was very static. So we definitely needed a phase 2 to make this where it was a guided navigation to career exploration. And so that's where we started on phase 2. So we also wanted to go into phase 2 with having some feedback from counselors. So we actually started presenting this to different counseling groups to find out if it works for them. Of course, school counselors loved it. Okay. Students were able to log in to a system and start working on career exploration and have all their information saved there. And the progress that they started in 9th grade could be continued throughout their academic career and beyond if they wanted to, because everybody who logs into Career Solutions can also log into our into our Workforce Connection system. So the logins work in both places. And so their progress can be accessed throughout their academic career. And so career counselors just loved that aspect of it. But we still had some work to do. We got feedback of they wanted middle school students to be able to start with pathways. You know, our high schools, some of them actually have pathways that actually take a student from basics of high school classes all the way into a career pathway. And so they wanted to start that in middle school. So that way middle schools start thinking, this is the pathway I want to go to. So that way perhaps they can look into high schools that actually fit their pathway. And career counselors wanted access to it, to student progress, so that way they can see where students are, can help them navigate through career exploration, and help with career goals. They wanted to be able to see which occupations students are interested in, so that way they could perhaps help them navigate into that role, into that industry. And the funniest thing, a university counselor wanted access to it too. She could see how this system could help a university student go from a freshman year of not knowing exactly where they wanted to go into a senior year of graduating into a job. And so Career Solutions was great for the university system also. And the most important thing, it wasn't mobile yet. It needed to be mobile. So that's where we started on phase 2.
Michelle, I just wanted to ask a quick question at this part, and just one of the questions that we had is what does the solution look like when you're introducing it to students? Is it through classroom exercises, individual CBT?
Yes, so mostly it is classroom exercises. Rebecca probably has a better, because Rebecca presents it to classes. I don't. We were actually hoping that students would need a classroom, but to be introduced to it, they pretty much need a classroom setting to be introduced to it, and then they can do it on their own. But Rebecca, do you have any more feedback on that?
Definitely, and we'll definitely go into it on how we market the product to the audience that we need, but not limited to classroom. That's probably where the largest engagement takes place. But we market it to anybody who's supporting young people throughout the state. And again, it's designed for young people, but adults use it as well.
All right, great. Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, so one of the things that we started with phase 2 is if we're going to have counselors access student information, there are some confidentiality concerns that actually come into play. And so we actually brought in, at this point, before it was just economic research working with the LMI project manager to create career solutions. But at this point, we actually brought in for phase 2 our youth services people, our marketing team, our chief information technology officer. We also brought in our deputy secretary, also that way we could actually work on a solution moving forward for the future. And we were actually fortunate enough, our deputy secretary that we brought in was, she sat on the school board. So she had more information than we have. And so we were able to think about things like FERPA. As a workforce person, I have no clue what FERPA is. I have no kids. I don't care about FERPA, but I had to learn it for this project that we were working on. And luckily, the Deputy Secretary was able to instruct us a little bit more on FERPA, Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. And so when a student logs in, they can select a school, they can select a graduation date, and they can select to give the counselor access or not give the counselor access, making sure that they have some option in their privacy. The other thing is students move around occasionally. I went through all 4 years at the same school, but not all students do. So we wanted to make sure between school years that they're able to, they're required actually between school years to log in and look at their graduation date and school selection again to make sure that they're still assigned to the correct school. And then we also had the other side, the counselor login, which was what was new, was coming up for us. We wanted to make sure that, first of all, their class size wasn't huge. You don't want to be able to see students that have already graduated. So we wanted to make sure that the class size that they have is appropriate. So if anybody has already graduated, hasn't changed their graduation date, and they've fallen off that high school, it'll actually roll off for the counselors. The other problem is that counselors, they might be terminated or face retirement. After they've done that, we don't want them to have access to the system anymore. So we needed to work on how, I mean, we're not the public education department. We don't have access to that information of when a counselor is terminated. So we needed to make sure that when the counselor is terminated or retires, that they also fall off our system. Which also brings into the next point. This is NMDWS technology. Okay, so they're required to go through all the security that we are actually required to. While their role is specific to Career Solutions, we need to make sure that they only access Career Solutions and only have access to Career Solutions, because there's also the other side of the Workforce Connection. These sites are integrated. Even though it's a separate site, it's integrated with the other site. So you can log in as a student, you can log into the 3 different systems. As a counselor, you can log into the 3 different systems. So we needed to make sure that the technology was appropriate for a counselor. So confidentiality was definitely a concern and a problem going into this. And so here we are today, Career Solutions.
Hey, Michelle, if you don't mind, so going back to the counselors, the high school counselors, as well as the university counselors, is there any collaboration between them, either on graduating high schoolers going to potential colleges, and or do they collaborate or just use the same information in order to identify potential students for the universities as well?
As far as I know, I have not heard of anybody collaborating like that. I know it's possible, but not that I've heard of. But
it's good to know at least the information is still there, right? I mean, all the same
information's still there. That's what I was going to say. On the student side, once that student graduates, that doesn't mean their access to Career Solutions is terminated. They can actually go on to college and work with a career counselor and have that information that they did in high school still available to them. So As far as counselors working together, not that I've heard of, but students still have access to that information.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So when a student logs into Career Solutions, this is what we're at now. If you look in the upper right-hand side, you'll see that NMDWS Economic Research would be the student name, and then the high school that they're assigned to is also next. And so once they log in, they're able to see their student dashboard, okay? If they see that the high school is wrong, they're actually able to just click on that high school and change that information. Like I said, in between school years, they're actually required, once they log in, the system will require them to log in and make sure that that information is still correct. And if a counselor is actually walking around helping students, that makes it visually right there for them. If a student is assigned to the wrong school, they're able to work with the student and get them assigned to the right school. And so the dashboard, like I said, up in the upper right-hand side, it says who it is. And then there's also the student progress. So a student, when they go to their dashboard, are able to see what steps they have completed and what steps they still need to complete. They're also able to see their occupation library to see which occupations they've wanted to research more, what occupations they want more information on. And so, and then if they had colleges selected, it would show colleges there. And our newest part that we've, I think in the last about 2 years, we added the counselor's dashboard to where the counselor can log in. And again, in the upper right-hand side, it'll tell you who the counselor is and what school they're associated with. And once they pull up the dashboard, they'll see all the students that are registered for that school. And so if you'll notice, it says who the student is, what grade they're associated with, and what class they're going to be graduating from. There's also the option for the counselor to actually look at the student, the specific student's progress and their activity. So looking at that person's progress, the student's progress, they can see, actually look at the answers for the career exploration worksheet. They're able to see what occupations that the student has selected. And like I said before, that means that they're able to go in and look and see if a student wants, is looking for, perhaps they want to be a medical student for some reason, a doctor. A career counselor is able to bring in, if there's a lot of students perhaps that are looking at being a doctor, they're able to bring in a doctor to come speak to the class. Or if they're working on with the student one-on-one, and they have a person from that industry, they're able to work with that student and bring in perhaps that person that they know to work with the student and mentor the student. So the progress is definitely a great thing that they're able to see for each student and then overall for their class. And so that was phase 2. And Geographic Solutions, every year, Career Solutions just gets better and better. So I am so happy with and proud with what we've produced together.
And we are as well for being a partner with you for that. It's been I know an enjoyable journey, and the outcomes are very fruitful. Thank you for that explanation.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So I'm Rebecca Sisneros. I am also with the Department of Workforce Solutions, and I am part of the Youth Engagement team. I am very lucky that this Career Solutions was already created before I joined the team, but I have the opportunity to market it, to promote it, and to share it with partners statewide. So now that we have this great site, how are we getting it to the people who need it most? Next slide, Michelle. I want you to understand a little bit about our community. The Department of Workforce Solutions, we have a variety of partners. We have 4 workforce regions statewide who all have their own contracted youth providers that are located within our 23 workforce offices that are scattered around the state. All of these locations are familiar with Career Solutions. We also have 89 school districts throughout the state, and we serve approximately 338,220 students. We do our best to make sure all of these school districts, all of these schools, career counselors, educators have access to our online resources and the supports on how to utilize them. We do not limit these tools to young people. They were designed for young people, but we also share the tools with adults, those seeking changes in their careers, those who still have barriers and need a little bit more help to move forward or to create a new path. So our youth engagement team will. We work really hard to provide various trainings around career solutions to enhance access for every young person in our state. We will train literally anybody who is willing to listen and who wants to provide these resources to young people anywhere. We can present these directly to students in a classroom setting, in a conference, in a town hall. However, we prefer to do a train the trainer approach. We prefer to train those that are supporting young people throughout the state so that they obtain the knowledge and they are able to distribute that as well. We also do the regular type of marketing with flyers, social media, posters throughout our high schools, just letting people know about the resources that we have. And I'm sorry, Michelle, I know you're kind of catching up with me. I didn't know that they were staggered. So you'll see here, we have youth team meetings that we do regularly. We meet with educators, career counselors, anyone interested, classroom settings, conferences, training summits, town halls, and again, through the social media networks is also an excellent way to reach our partners. One of the best things about this site is going to be on our next slide. When we talk to our educators about anything that we're asking them to provide to our students, we provide them with a facilitator's guide. This was created in partnership with our public education department, and the guide breaks down career solutions into 8 learning sessions. It includes step-by-step lesson plans and worksheets that you can share with your students. And this was created by educators for educators. They understand the target audience better than we do, so we worked really closely with them to make sure that anytime we ask them to take on another task, to take on another system, that we provide them the tools to best utilize these systems. Next slide.
I don't have a question on that. I just want to have a comment. Thank you for that excellent outline and introducing as far as how you get it to the community and your learners. But I did want to share that we mentioned your facilitator's guide as a key point for other installations. So it's not just used within your state and your constituents, I guess, or learners, users. We also share that amongst others as well. So very good job.
Awesome, thank you. For those of you who might not be familiar, our public education department requires a next step plan for all of our high school students. So the next step plan, it's going to help young people outline their interests to set career goals, then to set educational goals to obtain those long-term goals. So our site here can help those students identify their interests and values, outline education required for the specific careers in New Mexico, and then it brings them awareness to learn, what is the labor market, what jobs are going to be available. The best part, as Michelle mentioned, is that the students create this account and it follows them through adulthood. It follows them from school to school. And it's really just a helpful tool to create this next step plan that is required for our students in New Mexico. I want to share some things that we consider success. In 2020, we had over 2,000 students log into our Career Solutions site. We did see a little bit of a decrease as 2020 was an awkward year. Our highest use of this site was in August and September when our students are returning to school. So we know that our educators are using it and our educators are promoting it. And over the last few years, we have already been able to enhance the site easily. Easy to work with Geo to make these suggestions that we often get from our users. So again, just to mention, 2019 was the highest usage we've ever had. It grew significantly from the creation in 2016. And some of the updates we were able to make very easily from suggestions from our partners was something as simple as adding videos to the job descriptions. So when you're going through Career Solutions, if they're interested in a specific role, there's often a short video that can outline what that role is about. The next thing I'm going to share are just some testimonies that we've got, and I apologize I wasn't able to bring any partners on board with us today, but A youth participant that I get to encounter and work with often says, career solution is making sure I don't set myself up for failure. I like that I can see how many jobs are going to be available in the field I'm interested in. I know many people who are not even working in the field they went to school for because there aren't any jobs. And that's why it's so important for us to teach these young people about labor market. What does that mean? And when you go through career solutions, you can see how many jobs are currently available, and over the next several years, how many jobs are going to be available in that specific role, so that if you're investing your time, your money, you know what to expect when you're done. The next one's from a career counselor. The problem solver when working with students who move from school to school. So again, Michelle mentioned it, but when they register as a participant, this account goes with them on and on, whether they change schools, whether they're going from middle school to high school to college. They have access to this account. A counselor can log in with them, work alongside them, and it makes it easier than starting the process over every single time. And the last one is from a parent who I selfishly pulled from a friend of mine who I bully into using this all the time. Her child does not like to work on her career goals alongside her parent, but she's able to go back and look in her dashboard, look in her little shopping cart, and she feels confident that her student has a plan. Our student systems vary. Some of our young people have support systems at home, mom and dad, and they've had a plan since the 3rd grade. There's other that really depend on their career counselor, and some that look for peer support, and then others who want to do this on their own. This tool really provides the opportunity for whichever situation these people are trying to create their career path, have the opportunity to do so, and it's an equal opportunity, providing them the same information across the ground. And then I believe it's our contact information, and we're open for any questions that you might have around this tool.
Thank you, both. I don't see any questions in the chat. Do you, Evan? One thing I would like to know, if it would be all right, if you have any recommendations or if you can share any experiences with the audience members interested in implementing a similar solution in their area. Do you have any learning curves or any words of wisdom?
Yeah, I think I can speak a little bit to that. You know, when we first started, we were just economic research working with Geographic Solutions. We did not have the PED, the Public Education Department, on board with us. The education department, they're a little bit smaller in New Mexico and don't really have the resources that would be able to create something like this. And so we did it on our own. It would have been nice to have their input going in, but since we didn't, we actually did it on our own. But I think that they are so happy with the tool that we created, because we did bring in some of the, like the career exploration worksheet. That's actually an education department tool that they use. And so we brought it in and made it interactive. And so it would have been nice to have a little bit more of that cooperation with them. So that way we could create something that was a little bit, I mean, I think this is useful for them and us, but still, if we had a little bit more interaction with them, it might have been even better than what it is now, which is hard to do.
Right. Thank you.
Michelle, one question or to Rebecca, one question I think that we wanted to ask was, you know, looking down the future, how will this product benefit the New Mexico Department of Workforce Solutions? How do you see it 5-10 years down the road, you know, playing into that plan?
Yeah, I think, you know, Career Solutions definitely was designed for students, for young people. And the more that we invest in our students, who is our future workforce, our future community leaders, I mean, this is only going to benefit us for them to be in the know and be understanding of what the workforce is and how they fit into their next step of their life. So I think it's an ongoing, evolving benefit for all of us.
And to kind of go off that question, you know, could this solution also be used for adult education or adult learners and stuff like that?
Definitely. So Career Solutions has the ability to search in many different ways. So our high school students can go in and, start planning for their future. But those returning to the workforce, maybe they're making a change. They can come in and they can see the jobs available with what they already have. If they already have experience in certain roles, if they have already obtained a bachelor's degree, an associate's degree, and they're just looking for something different, you can search this site so many different ways to get yourself back on a good path. And then it links you with those programs available and your next steps to move forward. And we're actually presenting this with our higher education department tomorrow.
Oh, fantastic. We're well prepared now.
Yes. I guess more like a topical question is, with, did you notice any trends or anything interesting with, with the start of the pandemic and COVID and leading into that period? Did you see any trends with the Career Solutions portal or things that were interesting?
I know Michelle gets to do a little more of the stats than I do. Do you want to go on that one, Michelle?
Yeah, so unfortunately, from 2016, we've really doubled each year the usage of Career Solutions. Each year it doubles. But with the pandemic, it actually almost is in half now. I don't know if it's because students aren't being engaged in career development or what, but yes, I thought it was interesting when I saw that the statistics for 2020 was actually a lot lower than 2019. So yeah, hopefully, I can't wait to get back to school and back to work again, so that way hopefully more students will become engaged with this process.
Yeah, and I think it ties to the students being online all day anyways, to have another online initiative to complete with, but we do still have a lot of schools that are utilizing it, which I think is great. And we love to remind our educators and our partners that career readiness is still a high priority, and we provide them with this online resources that are available during a virtual world.
And I forgot if we touched on this before, but would you be able to describe some of the interagency relationship between the New Mexico Department of Workforce Solutions and the Department of Education, and how all those kind of tie in and work together for success?
Sure. So in its development, it seems like we didn't work too closely with the public education department. However, over the last 2 years, we work extremely close with public education. Again, they have that next step plan that's required for students statewide. And so they've taken this on as a primary tool. It is not yet the official tool. We are working towards that, but all educators throughout the state have access to Career Solutions and are encouraged to use it when planning for their students' next step plan. Department of Workforce Solutions also recently created a shared position. So I'm part of the youth engagement team, and I have a coworker named Jaime, and he's our work-based learning coordinator who works half-time with public education and half-time with workforce development, just to make sure that we are on the same page when it comes to our educational goals and our workforce goals, as they tie so closely together.
Thank you, Rebecca. We have a question from the audience. John asks, is there a process for current users to provide feedback on user engagement in the site?
I don't believe there's an official process. I think we just get a lot of emails.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever gotten any from students, but career counselors definitely keep in touch with us. And when they run into problems and errors, or when they have suggestions, they definitely keep us in contact. Yeah, we're on their speed dial.
That's great. And I know you shared some statistics before, but just going back and thinking about some of the questions that we had in developing this presentation, are there any other gains that you've seen in key focal areas or points that you're measuring that are maybe interesting things to talk about? And I would say such as success rates or anything like that, or metrics that you look at that maybe it would help somebody to help them back at their agency or department or something like that to define success.
Actually, another reason, as far as the youth side, the high school student side, that I'm sorry that we're not more partners with the public education department, because we don't keep statistics on that at all, and we don't have access to that information. So the only statistics we have are actually just as part of the number of web hits that we have and the number of registered users. And so that's about all that I can speak to, is that side.
I can tell you when it comes to the partnerships too, though, we are invited to present to career counselors often to make sure that they're educated on these resources which are available for them. And one of our primary goals is just to make sure that all students around the state have equal opportunity and equal access to it. So any school district, any youth support that invites us to provide them information, we're there. We're definitely there, and we want to make sure that they have the best tools available.
Yeah, and while it might sound like it, I'm not complaining about our education department. I think we created a great tool, and they think we created a great tool, and they are definitely big fans of what we're doing. And so it's definitely not a complaint. I really wish we had a little bit more integration with them. I mean, if this was created by the education department, they probably wouldn't have as much workforce information as what we have. And so I definitely wish that we had worked a little bit more with the education department, but they are definitely fans of what we have, and we are happy to help them out with this.
And then along those lines, are there any parent engagements?
Definitely. So in some of the measurements, I don't think that we see that when we look at our analytics at all. But we do provide the resources to youth support groups that support families as well. And we've provided these trainings to, I mean, one of the partners that I always like to share that it's very unique. It's not a youth organization, but it was an organization that supported women re-entering the system coming out of prison or incarceration. And some of these women were coming out with an associate's degree, and they just needed to get back to be able to support their families and restart on a good path. So again, not limited to young people. It could be for older individuals. It could be for parents of these young people too. So this tool is just it's a great tool for anybody, but again, it was designed originally for our high school students.
Yeah, I think it's excellent the way you all have opened it to the whole community and expanded it just outside of, I know the original tact and target was high schoolers, but you've opened it to the whole community to include adult education as well as the reentry that you mentioned. So it's going to be exciting to see how far you expand it out. Along those lines, are you able to engage employers in new ways related to student or enroller success, since you mentioned the work-based learning and CTE?
One of the ways I think is the best way to engage the employers is, Michelle mentioned earlier, when that career counselor can see what a majority of their students are interested in, whether it's from their assessments or from the occupations that they're saving in their dashboard, then you can pull in employers and you can let them know the students here at this school, in this district, in this community are mostly interested in this specific industry. Let's pull you in for a career day. Let's set up some internship opportunities. Let's really get this pipeline going if our young people are interested in this specific industry. Then maybe you see the ones that, wow, this is a really booming industry and we don't have any young people interested. Let's take the opportunity to bring an employer in to shed some light on what these young people might be missing. Maybe they're not getting the message that this job is actually really cool. It's going to provide you a great opportunity. So we need to bring those employers in to get them interested. So employers can be brought in. I do depend on our career counselors or those utilizing the site to see what their students are interested in.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
One thing else I would love to mention, Evan, is how specific Career Solutions is to our community, to New Mexico. There's a lot of sites that can provide information like Career Solutions, but it's on a national level. When we're talking to our students, it's very specific to the area that they live in, the area that they hope to get educated in and work in. So when we give them these numbers, it's based on our income, our wages here in New Mexico, our cost of living, our labor market. So we're not giving them false hope if it's a national number. It's very true to what they could be experiencing once they are self-sustaining and making their own decisions.
Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't ask that question earlier. So Evan and I just gotta check this red circle on our questions for you. But I'm glad you pinpointed that, because it is the LMI or the labor data that we give you is local, and it's either, you know, for your state or your city or your municipality, and drilled down for that, and the students can benefit based off of the locale that they want to stay in and the occupations that they are more interested in. So thank you for hitting on that, and we won't be too disappointed that we didn't ask it initially.
Actually, that is one of the difficult decisions that we made, is that we restricted colleges to New Mexico colleges. And so in order to see outside schools, they actually had to leave our system, our site. And so, but we actually made the decision to do that based on, we wanted them to see New Mexico information. So yeah, interesting.
Personalize it that way. Yeah, and you have the flexibility to do that. So
That too.
Evan, are there any more questions?
I don't have any more questions, so I will open it up here to the audience. And if you have a question, please submit it in the question window, and we will ask Michelle and Rebecca. Is there anything else that Michelle or Rebecca you would like to share with the audience about ways to get something like this started at their agency or their state, at local or regional level?
I don't know about Rebecca, but for our side, I was happy that we were able to use our existing, I mean, like I said, we have Laser, our labor market side, we have Workforce Connection. Both of those systems are integrated, and we were able to add this third solution that's integrated. So if you have a basis, it was nice to actually have something to go from to create this new site. And so it's really important to me that it was integrated. We didn't have to create something new.
Yeah, and piggybacking off of that, if you use things that are already existing, things that are already familiar with some of the other agencies, and hopefully use us as an example, we didn't have our Department of Education included at the very beginning, but they love it so much now. Use that as a selling point. They were our partners when creating the Facilitators Guide after the site was created, so they saw the benefits, they saw everything that they kind of missed out on in the creation portion. So when you're utilizing the same tools, existing tools, we're making sure that we're not giving our community members different messages. They're all getting the same message. We can support each other rather than kind of compete. So I think it all benefits.
Same goal on mine.
Right.
Thank you. Well, to Rebecca and Michelle, I want to thank you for your time today. I really appreciate you joining us to do this for our Pathways to Employment series. And I've learned a lot. I want to thank also Chuck, my co-host. And I want to thank everybody who attended today. Thank you so much for joining us. And please look forward to our next Pathways to Employment series. Check out geographicsolutions.com for more information.
And this will be recorded.
And
We'll
actually, this will be recorded, and we will provide a link so that, and all attendees will receive that link later this week.
Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Appreciate your participation.
Thank you, guys.
Yay!
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.